Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel, and I've got my first reaction to the new DCEU film, The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. This is starring Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton and some returning favorites, I'll just say, from the DCEU. What is it? This movie is supposed to come out at least 5 years ago. A number of screenplay issues, a number of acting issues from the cast. Let me be clear right now and just say that I am one of those people that separates the art from the artist. I'm not going to blame the Flash and all the people that worked on it for the horrible actions of one person. So yeah, I did go to see this movie, and I don't plan on addressing the Ezra Miller issue past this point I'm making right now by just saying I hope Ezra Miller does not play the Flash again, because I don't think their actions have been someone worthy of keeping their job. Yeah, I don't really honestly think that Ezra Miller will play the Flash again, because we're getting rebooted with James Gunn's new version of the DCU. So all that stuff aside, I'll just say this. I really, really like this movie. Now, truth be told, the last two DC films I saw, Black Adam and Shazam! Fury of the Gods, both disappointed me in a pretty big way, where they were both films I felt had a lot of potential and just did not live up to them. I was a huge fan of the Suicide Squad and then Peacemaker, the TV spinoff of that. And that kind of energy got me so excited, but then catching Black Adam and Shazam made me disappointed again. In fact, both of those films I completely missed in the theaters just because the hype train wasn't really exciting me, and then I had other things going on in my life. But I did finally get a chance to go see The Flash. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think Andy Muschietti turned in a fantastic film. Here's the thing, I guess. It's more so almost just surprising that the film is good at all because of the 30 versions of the screenplay and the constant pushbacks and the director's revolving door going around, and then knowing the Ezra Miller situation and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy that the movie is even just good, let alone great. I think I would place this film at least on the level of the original Shazam and The Suicide Squad, which were my two favorite DCEU films. This probably is going to enter that conversation. And I think there's a lot happening in this movie. I think when people describe it as stuffed and they describe the third act as messy and bloated, it's not entirely an incorrect statement. And especially, it'll take me time and probably at least a second or maybe a third viewing before I can actually tell you what I think about the film in the context of being potentially my favorite film in this franchise. Ezra Miller is a great performer, and I think both versions of Barry Allen, we see both in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling it here. We do see two different versions of Barry Allen, and I think they do a great job in both characters. One of them is kind of the younger Barry Allen, the one who hasn't been through the Justice League of it all, and is a bit more innocent and also annoying and kind of dumb. And then the other one is the one who's been through basically adulthood to the point where they become jaded, and also they come. The big emotional crux of the film is this is a loose adaptation of the Flashpoint story in which Barry Allen decides to go back in time to save his mother's life and causes a ripple effect that may undo everything in the universe. So I was very excited to see this interpretation of this kind of story. I haven't watched a lot of Flashpoint stuff. I don't watch the TV show. I haven't seen that animated film, although I have it and I want to check it out. But going into it, the two lead performances from Miller and Miller were both quite good. The way they utilize Michael Keaton's Batman is not only a fantastic way to take up the mantle and bring back that character that we haven't been able to see in 30 years, that iteration of Batman, but it also fits really nicely as kind of a Batman 5, if you will, I guess. Sasha Calle, who plays Supergirl, I think did a really great job with what she was given to do. The character is not an astoundingly written character for Supergirl, but what they have for her to do is really good. What is it? Barry's parents, solid in what they're supposed to do. The film there's a ton going on, and it relies heavily on those four lead performances, essentially. But we get some great, exciting moments, and if you've seen the trailers, this isn't a spoiler either, but seeing Ben Affleck in his version of Alfred pop up in the film is really exciting. There's some great action set pieces. I'll say this. The CG according to Muschietti, was purposely done a little cartoonish at times as a stylistic choice. I don't know if I 100% buy that, but if I'm going to believe that that's the case, there's some really wonky CGI, and then there's some CGI that's really great, so it's a complete mixed bag of that. I'm not one of those people that good or bad CGI doesn't really... I'm not going to say that it doesn't remove me from the film, but in this case, it didn't remove me from the film. It didn't bother me in the same way. Although there were a couple moments where you were like, ooh, yeah, it's a little cartoon. But it never really took me out of the film. What else is there? There is a lot of kind of references and fan service in the film. And comparing it to recent films, there was probably 75% of it worked pretty well for me, and then there's about 25% that was somewhat member berries-ish. If you've seen the trailer, there's of course the line when Michael Keaton says, "I'm Batman," and he says, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." The "I'm Batman" worked well enough, and the "let's get nuts" part you could tell was just thrown in that. It makes no absolute sense in the scene that it's in, and so it doesn't really do much. I still had a laugh about it. If you haven't had a number of the surprises spoiled for you, I think there's a lot of really interesting surprises, and ones that I feel have a narrative purpose, loosely speaking, but well enough where it didn't, again, distract me in the film. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun to see kind of the build of what we've been doing with this franchise. And this is the one that feels most connected to Justice League and to the characters that we've established before and to previous DC lore, and didn't feel like it went frequently into member berries roles. And when it did, it didn't feel like it was excessively so. So I had a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. There was a lot of great scenes, a lot of throwbacks, but also a lot of ways in which we've shown through the homage, through the setups and payoffs, how far this character has come. And primarily you see that in the two versions of Barry, because one of them is 10 years younger than the other one. So you get a sense that time has changed the character through the events of what we've seen lensed out there. I can definitely understand, I'll say this, avoiding spoilers as best I can, watching this film places a lot of James Gunn's comments about the film into a context. And he said a couple times, like, the Flash is kind of our zero event for where we're going to go with my iteration. And he's kind of made reference to that, but you weren't really able to figure out what he was talking about if you hadn't seen the film. And I think this kind of outlines a bit what his plan is. Although I don't think that was done intentionally. I think that was just how this film was made. But I had a lot of fun with the surprises, with the characters, with the action set pieces. The film felt bloated. It is 2 hours and 25 minutes. And it's been 4 years since I've had to pee so bad that I almost walked out of the movie to go do it because it just didn't get to the ending. But this was a case where I felt the movie was pretty bloated. And so I think I'll have more fun with watching it at home, because I saw this one on AMC Prime. And if you've ever been to Prime, it's a great visual and auditory experience, but man, those seats are not comfortable at all. But I did enjoy the film immensely. And I think for what it is, for what it's trying to be, the film is ultimately quite successful. And it's a shame that crappy actors or crappy human beings who are good actors couldn't keep their crap together. I'm sorry, I'm trying to say this without getting R-rated here, but Ezra Miller, what the hell? Like, why give up the career you have for... Anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about it. Why am I talking about it? Anyway, the movie is great. There's a lot of ways in which it improves upon the things that I both liked and disliked in earlier DC films, and I can't wait to check it out again. Now, you let me know your thoughts about The Flash down below in the comments section. And do you think we'll see this version of Barry Allen again in James Gunn's rebooted version of events, or do you think they'll recast? Let me know down in the comments what you think. And give me your DC ranking after seeing The Flash down in the comments as well. Thank you guys for joining me. You can check out goatfilmreviews.com for my Randy written reviews. You can check out Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can find me at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can find my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Plotachuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We've got new episodes every single week. All those links are down in the description. We'll see you next time.